A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada started ISKCON in America in 1965. However, after the departure of the founder of ISKCON in 1977, the deviated leaders of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, ISKCON, have created 230 alleged India's Guru successors, which they claim are part of the Hindu and Vedic cultural tradition of India. However, most of their 230 alleged pure successors to India's Guru tradition have fallen down into abominable actions, including illicit sex, drug addictions, and even felony criminal activities. Some of them have even gone to jail. Many of these scandals are well documented in the Western media and publicly recorded as scandals found within supposed gurus or Hindu acharyas alleged to be in the tradition of India. In addition, ISKCON leaders have written many of their own documents claiming that their guru acharyas represent a divine lineage of gurus from India or Hinduism, and simultaneously that their gurus have fallen into scandalous behaviors. So in other words, they're misrepresenting Hinduism as being a culture where the guru is falling down most of the time. Most of the time your guru will fail, because out of the 230 gurus, most of them have failed. In their documents, the ISKCON leaders have used divine titles for their gurus, which compares their gurus to the great Hindu religion's acharyas of India, such as Shankaracharya, Ramanuja Acharya, Madhvacharya, Nimbarka Acharya, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Goswamis of Vrindavan, Tulsidas, Surdas, and many other authentic saints from India. The ISKCON leaders have used the same types of titles for their gurus that are used by India's authorized acharyas, such as Guru Acharya, Vishnupad, Acharyapad, Krishnapad, Bhaktipad, Tirthapad, Gurupad, Krishna's Parampara guru successors, and, of course, India's traditional gurus, and so on. At the same time, while promoting themselves as gurus, these ISKCON acharyas have written piles of documents stating that India's gurus can fall down and act in abominable and degraded ways, and indeed the Hindu acharyas can fail and behave worse than the average common citizen of the USA. In other words, the ISKCON leaders are preaching that it is quite common for India's gurus to fall into illicit behaviors. For example, ISKCON spokesman Jayadvaita Swami J. Israel wrote a document which says that their alleged India's traditional gurus can sometimes be found engaged in illicit sex with men, women, and possibly children as well. Again, most of their alleged 230 gurus from the tradition of India's acharyas, voted in by the ISKCON leaders since 1977, have fallen down into scandals. Notice, sometimes a guru in India's tradition of Hinduism might be engaged in illicit sex. But it gets worse than that. No, most of the time your guru will fall into illicit sex, because most of their gurus have failed, and they're representing this as bona fide traditional Hinduism. In sum, India's tradition of great spiritual acharyas is now being mixed, juxtaposed, and linked to criminals, deviants, and molesters. As a matter of fact, some of the ex-ISKCON children have accused members of the ISKCON guru succession as being molesters, and law enforcement has arrested some of these gurus for felony crimes. However, Srila Prabhupada says, when a guru has sex with a disciple, it is exactly like a man having sex with his own daughter. This would make most of the 230 ISKCON traditional Hindu gurus actually molesters by the standard of Srila Prabhupada, since most of them have failed, and often failed due to illicit sexual connections. Rather than admit that their gurus are unauthorized, in 1980 the ISKCON leaders wrote a document entitled The Mahajans Have Difficulties, where they attacked all of India's greatest Mahajans as being defective and subject to mundane influences. They even attacked Krishna's main disciple named Arjuna, as well as grandfather Bhishma, Prahlad Maharaj, and many other great saints of India and Hinduism as being comparable to their deficient gurus. So they're saying, yes, our gurus are having difficulties, but what is the problem? Because the Mahajans have difficulties. In other words, the ISKCON gurus are trying to cover up their deviations by associating their deviations with the actual acharyas and Mahajans of India. Of course, even Lord Shiva is considered a type of Mahajan, how did Lord Shiva become associated with a group of bogus people who are having problems with illicit sex and drugs? A big follower of the ISKCON gurus named Mala Praharana Das just wrote to tell me how he is being trained by ISKCON gurus. He wrote, and I quote, that their gurus are ordinary human beings like you and me. They are not perfect. So the gurus are supposed to be as pure as Lord Krishna and Lord Shiva, but they are simultaneously ordinary, fallen human beings. So this is how people are being trained in ISKCON today. That India's tradition of gurus is that the gurus, the Mahajans, the acharyas, the great saints of India, they're just ordinary, fallen people like you and me and all the rest of us. When one of their gurus named Jayatirtha began to have problems with sex, he was caught having sex with a disciple, he was taking drugs, he was giving LSD to his disciples, he was buying and selling this drug ecstasy. And the explanation that was given by the ISKCON leaders is, well, that's not really a big problem because the Jayatirtha that you see is just the Maya Jayatirtha. The real Jayatirtha is engaged in pure activities. The Maya Jayatirtha is doing these bad things, and there was a Maya Sita, so now there's a Maya Jayatirtha. Well, wait a minute, Mother Sita is the wife of Lord Ramachandra. How did the Maya Sita become all of a sudden connected to people having illicit sex, people buying and selling drugs, and so on and so forth? So in other words, they will drag the name of Mother Sita into explaining their position. And the people who were preaching this at the time were people like Radhanath and Umapati, and Radhanath has now become the big guru of the Bombay ISKCON project. So he's gone from promoting a criminal enterprise of Kirtananda, he's gone from promoting insults to Mother Sita, now he's their big hero, he's their big star acharya. But while he was at New Vrindavan, he was Kirtananda's right-hand man, and even the GBC in 1990, they said Radhanath can only become a guru if he's not indicted for criminal activity. So if you're not indicted for criminal activity, that means you're as pure as God and you're a guru. Gopal Krishna is the guru for Delhi, and his wife has written me letters complaining that while she was pregnant, he kicked her in the stomach and he mistreated her very badly. She's actually writing a whole big series of articles about her problems with Gopal Krishna. And now, Gopal Krishna is the big guru of Delhi, but how did he get voted in? The people who are engaged in illicit sex with men, women, and children are voting in acharyas, and Gopal Krishna is one of the people voted in by people who are engaged in illicit behavior. How does that work? How can you be voted in as God's living successor by people who are engaged in immoral activities? Gopal Krishna has no answer. So this is another insult to the Hindu and Indian culture. The great acharyas of India are voted in as acharya by people who are engaged in illicit sex with men, women, and children. This is their process. And their big guru for Mayapur is Jayapataka. This is where considerable homosexual child molestation has been going on. Jayapataka pushed his friend Bhavananda into the guru seat. Bhavananda was a homosexual, and he brought in all kinds of homosexual molesters into Mayapur. Mayapur is supposed to be the holy dham of the ISKCON movement, and into the holy dham, all of a sudden, there's homosexuals, child molesters, and things going on, and Jayapataka is protecting that whole regime. And we could go on here with many more examples, but these are just a few. We're just trying to point the way. The bottom line is that India's culture has been very much distorted and misrepresented as a culture which supports illicit sex in the post of Acharya and Messiah for India's culture. So if we study all of the Acharyas, Madhvacharya, Nimbarkacharya, Shankaracharya, so many Acharyas, has any of them supported the notion that the Acharyas are having illicit sex with men, women, and children? No, we will not find that. And recently another ISKCON guru named Hridayananda, he blessed a gay marriage, a homosexual marriage. He was chastised for that, and he's still a guru. There's no accountability.